Hey, Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling. Good morning. This is the Deliverance Tour War Journal number 3. So I'm in Piedmont, Alabama. I'm staying in the City Heart Inn and Suites. It's the only place to stay in Piedmont. Quick lesson and quick plug for something. First, blood in, blood out shirt. Come on now. Come on now. Excited. Um, the picture that I took for the thumbnail was so you could get a sense of the scale of the huge room that I am in. Every review I had read of this place generally was not very favorable. But thanks to last night's experience, which was not that favorable, and I had to get on the phone and all this stuff about the room, um, I took some preemptive steps because of the reviews I read of this place. And just long story short, they gave me a suite. I got it for very cheap. Um, little perspective. So yeah, you got the 2 TVs. This place is humongous. Yes, that black chair is a massage chair. Big old bed, right? Then I got this living area where I'm filming. Then there's a full kitchen. That's an oven. Now the refrigerator doesn't work, but all those shelving units. Then you've got the big bathroom, and then next to that, there's a walk-in closet on the other side. Um, um, for including tax, a little over $50. Yeah. So when I looked at the reviews of the places that I'm staying this week, this one got the worst reviews, but by being polite, using the apps that I've talked about in the Patreon before, they gave me the nicest room. And so that part has been great. I was up incredibly late last night. We were in the parking lot. Amy and Ace Haven, who are wonderful hosts, by the way, and Shane Knowles. We were talking till, I don't know, 3 in the morning. um, and then I got back. So today, unfortunately, I will not be going to Canton. It just doesn't make sense for me to go an hour and 45 minutes to Canton and then 3 hours to uh, Augusta. So I'm just going to go straight to Augusta, which is a little longer than 3 hours. But I'm just going to go straight there. That way I could get at least a few hours of decent sleep and get some stuff done this morning like this, and then I'll be on my way. So I'm excited. um, Yesterday, it's weird when you get so much done in a day, and a lot of that was driving. Everything from, and I talked about a little bit of this in the last video, right? Hanging out with Jim Parkman was absolutely incredible. Seeing that place where you could rent a tank and drive over cars if you wanted to was an experience. um, but really, and this room, once because I got had a chance to check in, ProSouth is literally less than a mile. It is 0.6 miles away from this place. I could have walked there. Um, so that's an advantage that they have. I'm going to talk about this more in full disclosure, but I want to talk about it a little bit now to make sure I get it in. My experience at ProSouth was, in many ways, the complete opposite of what I was expecting. I was expecting to find, like, hard to find diamonds in a pile of shit, if I'm being honest. And instead, what I found is a diamond. With facets that have yet to be discovered by other people and facets that have yet to be developed by the people who wrestle there. I think they're missing a lot of opportunities because that place rivals the production or exceeds the production of any indie show that I have ever seen. Steve, what do you mean? Um, I'll put these pictures up that I took in full disclosure. But their dressing room is a dressing room slash locker room. One room, everybody's together. It really had that wrestling atmosphere. Everybody's there joking with each other. Everybody's there interacting with each other. Everybody would find little pockets of the room to deal with stuff. So, like when Huck finally got there, because he ran into all kinds of horrible traffic from West Virginia and all this kind of stuff, and he had beef with me. We were able to just kind of like find our own place, like, but we were still in the locker room, you know what I mean? And able to address it. I'm going to talk about that in full disclosure some more. Um, so that happened, but then they have a production room with all these monitors and all the technology. In the dressing room, there are 5 televisions showing that show as it's happening. Then downstairs, they have the entrance ramp. You can go to the left, and then that's where they have the commentators who each have their own monitor, top of the line headsets. I looked at those headsets, and then later on it was confirmed. Those are like $450 headsets. Those are like, the NFL uses these for their commentators on the field, so they block out all the background noise. I mean, and then their place, I was just so fond of it. Um, because it's not just typical like gym lighting, warehouse lighting nonsense. There's so much potential there. Just like the PCW building, it kind of blew me away with like, man, they're getting a lot out of this space and they can get even more. That was my main takeaway from ProSouth. If I was a young wrestler, I would go out of my way to be there because there's so much potential. One, you can wrestle every Friday. You'll be put in angles. I was impressed with Ace. He was real. He really has a vision. He's really has hands on in every aspect of what they're doing. The stand up promos that they did after was reminiscent of Southern Honor. Like they are doing it. They're really doing a wrestling show and they're doing it every single week. And some of the guys there, Cameron, like who I've never talked to, but we just ended up talking for God knows how long about him saying like, here's the things that I would want you to talk about because the guys listen to you, and I think this is very important. And we talked, I don't know, like 15, 20, 30 minutes about wrestling. That's what we were talking about. I mean, everybody was joking around, having a good time. um a highlight for me was I did my segment with Tyler Culprit, which I was really proud how well it was received and how Tyler and I adapted to the situation. We had our ideas of what we wanted to do, but then things could potentially screw us up, but we just sort of dealt with them very calmly and handled it and did our stuff. And I had one bump to take, and I was determined to make it look great. And I was very proud that universally, and even people contacting me like, dude, that was great. Um, I was really proud that only one person knew I was going to do some kind of like blood capsule thing. And I was incredibly proud that people were legitimately checking on me. And then when I went upstairs, they were pointing like, you're bleeding. Oh man, he got you. Oh no, are you okay? And I was going to keep the act going longer. And then at a certain point, I'm like, nah, I'm all right. It's blood capsules. But I'm glad that I managed to slip it in and do it. And people were like, whoa. And you don't. Um, I was glad to contribute to the show. I was glad that Huck and I cleared the air. I was glad that their show went well. I was glad that I got to be a part of their go home show, which once I realized that's what it was and people told me what I was really helping to promote, that I could really drive that point home. I was glad that that I passed the test. I'll just fuck it. I'll just be honest. I'm glad I passed the test, man, because the ProSouth crowd, I mean, I got a certain impression about them by what Larry writes and says, and by watching them on YouTube, and I was nervous. And I mean, even I'll just be blunt, right? Like even an act like All Star Special, which is over like motherfucking Rover everywhere they go, they're not really that over at ProSouth, and that made me incredibly nervous. And this is not to say All Star Special isn't great. I'm going to talk a lot about them tomorrow. Um, but a Pro South, it just hasn't caught. And so when you see an act that is just mind-blowingly over everywhere else, but the Pro South crowd doesn't really react, what the fuck am I? And they gave me this great introduction, used the PCW theme, um, and I went out there and I knew there wasn't going to be this huge torrent of noise. Who the fuck am I? And so I was able to, I think, successfully just go out there with the mic, and then I'll take a clip of this and put it up as far as full disclosure. Um, I'm gonna get this crowd. I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna make them cheer. And it was hard because they're split. There's people who love Tyler, and there's people who don't. Who are rooting for Austin Towers. And how do I deal with that? And I had to figure all of that out on the fly all over again, and it was incredibly exciting, man. I was For me, just personally, it was just so much fun. And then Tyler was so good, and I was there, to put him over. And then I got excited when guys were doing stand-up promos. I mean, Dylan and the guys at Southern Honor will tell you that. Like, I love teaching wrestling and I love being a part of it and I love listening. Like, I had so much fun in that locker room. You could just tell how jazzed I am, man. It was so great to be in a wrestling locker room because yeah, I've helped out with shows, but I haven't really just got to sit there in the locker room and just take it in and just be one of the guys. And there's something really special about that feeling. PCW on Thursday was about like being part of a training environment again. And I just, oh, it was wonderful. And yesterday was about being in a wrestling locker room where I'm a performer. I'm not going out there and putting over the show and doing Twitter and all that stuff. No, my friends, that is for IWE today. But my experience at Pro South, I'll just sum that up and then I'll talk about what I'm going to go do because I want to get this up and then get out of the door in less than 30 minutes. Um, Man, it's for real. Pro South is for real. And then I'm just talking for hours with people. And then I gotta thank them again. I mean, Thursday I would have kept the PCW guys tied up with me forever, but I forgot. Like, yesterday was Friday. They all had to go to work. They all had lives to lead. So of course I let them go, albeit reluctantly, and just went to my room and dealt with all of that bullshit. Right? But like Amy, like, I don't work tomorrow. We can go. So and because this town of Piedmont, I hope they get a building somewhere else because they deserve to be in a town where they've got a little money to spend, but more than that, that they'll embrace this thing. Um, because I think that will also further help get a ton of talent in there. Not that they don't have guys that are already wrestling and learning and doing well, but there's something about feeling the pressure of there's people coming in. I gotta fucking deliver. I don't just have an automatic spot. You gotta have that undercurrent of fear in the morality pyramid. And I think ProSouth would benefit greatly from it. And and it's a chance. I mean, PCW did well, but then when people started coming in, and then once I reached a point where I had access to anybody I wanted, that even a guy like AR Fox would walk in the door and wrestle for free just because they wanted to be a part of what was going on. That's when like things really escalated because then I could put my reliable wrestlers against these people coming in, and everybody was just part of the deal and everybody was pulling in the same direction. Pro South has everybody pulling in the same direction. It's just there's a few people who aren't pulling as hard as they could because they're not realizing their potential. I'll talk more about this in full disclosure. But then being at, so we had to travel 20 minutes to another town to get to a Waffle House that was open. And then just hours. And Ace and Amy Haven are wonderful. I definitely got the measure of them, and Ace is a wrestling guy through and through, and there's so few people like him right now in Georgia wrestling and wrestling in general who are embracing this role of running a show and figuring it out. Just the conversations we had about him figuring out the technology end of it. Um, and then all the stories. I mean, we just exchanged stories. And Amy was so great, and their kid was so great. Um, she and I had a great time because we were ready to order and everybody else wasn't. So we just got to endlessly make fun of how they needed to see a menu for the fucking Waffle House. Who needs to really see a menu for the Waffle House? So you might be tantalized by something new that you're not going to get. Yeah, I mean, we're just having fun. But Shane Knowles is a guy that I've always had. Shane Knowles is a guy I had respect for before I ever met him, and that has deepened. That's a guy who, if I were here in Georgia, I would be good friends with, unless he didn't want to be friends with me, which would be understandable. Um, I just I like that dude, man, and he's so smart, so funny, and well, I mean, it was weird. Like we would just keep asking each other questions because we just wanted to know, and like uh, all the respect in the world of Shane Knowles, and I'm so glad that Peach State seems like they're stabilizing out, and they'll have the same venue to run for 3 months. And I asked once, like, must Peach State exist when it seemed like their shows were just these ramshackle affairs? And the answer is, I think so. I really want to see what happens this summer. But today, going straight to Albany, it's 3 hour, 40-minute drive. Or, I'm sorry, not Albany. Why do I keep saying Albany? Right? Augusta. And meeting at 3, Charles Felder, who's going to write the report of the show. Timothy, I think, will be there. Skrilla's girl. We're all going to be there and have an early-ish dinner, and then I'll be at the show, and they're going to get the full platinum. Apparently, I have a seat reserved for me, which is close, which means I can take pictures in the video. Um, I'll be tweeting, Facebooking a lot of the stuff that you saw me doing, like WrestleMania week for different shows, like Action and ICW and all that stuff. I'm going to be doing it for them. But I'm also going to have that Southern Honor thing of where I have full access. So I'm going to be going in the locker room. I just want to get the full scope of what they're doing, how they're doing it, so I can help Tim and Josh as much as I can. Um, giving them full reports and stuff. I know this one's a little bit long, but you can tell I'm just so happy. I can't believe only 2 days have gone by on this Deliverance tour. I mean, I think it's because I'm just packing it in. That's what I do. I do regret that I'm not able to go to Canton, but then again, I mean, Gary Lamb's just going to be busy putting on this huge event. I just wanted to see him in his element. I'll just have to come back up here, I guess, which is I'm more than happy to do. Um, yeah. So I'll file a report. I probably won't file one until tonight when I get back to my room. I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning in the sense that I don't have to get up with an alarm. Not that I haven't beaten my alarm every one I've set. I just have that superpower now, which is wonderful because I love getting stuff like this done. Um, but I'm going to get up tomorrow whenever I get up. Uh, Arrange to have lunch with a friend, which will be lovely, in like the Warner Robins area. And then GIPW, I'll let you know about this in a Patreon video. Steve, don't tease us with Patreon video. F you. There's big goings on that I was privy to. And I'll let you know about it on Patreon later today. Steve, do I have to sign up for your Patreon to see all these videos? Yes. Dude, it's $1. Preferably 5, but hook it up. Link is down below. All right, let me put this thing up and engage with the day. Have a good weekend, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.